do it on the computer. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to start tonight. We are at the living room, Healthy Living Inspirations, 2921 Duff Road, where we're learning how to live healthy, even though we're living in a very toxic world. Tonight is the first Thursday where we have Choose It to Lose It class, and that is talking about anything and everything that you want to make a decision to be proactive about losing pounds, losing to junk food habits, losing bad habits, losing unwanted pounds, losing inflammation, losing, accelerated aging, all of those things. And we have an honor and a privilege to have with us Mr. Tony Robertson, all the way from Arizona. He's a certified nutritionist. He's been working with the Neolife products for 20 plus years. He has an amazing testimony. His wife is his awesome partner in this mission. And she also is a holistic practitioner, and they work together as a team to identify, get to the root causes of a lot of the issues. And we're going to hear from Tony tonight as talking about protein, the necessity of protein, the connection of protein. So get your notepad out, get ready, take notes, and enjoy. Tony Robertson.
Well, thank you, Lavon. Thank you for that awesome introduction. It's good to see folks and other people that we aren't seeing. We're just seeing their names, but that's also okay. So, yeah, like I said, if you're recording this, I better be in my best behavior this evening. So I promise I will try. How's that? All right. It should be a lot of fun and hopefully very informative. Okay. And I don't remember what the title of Lavon's email was that she sent out, protein and weight loss, how does it fit together? But the question is, how important is protein in weight loss? Is it something to think about? Can you eat too much protein? Can you eat not enough protein? Are there problems with protein in general? And, I've done a lot of reading up and studying about this topic and about protein, essentially. Because I like my protein. I like my meats. Okay. And it's like we say in South Africa, we have beef for dinner. If you want a salad, you'll have some chicken. How's that? So some of my friends around here, they really make fun of me for that. They'll come over to the house, or they'll bring a dish of chicken over, and they say, "We brought your salad, Tony. Here's your chicken." But hey, I've got nothing against chicken, especially when it's been roasted and that skin is nice and crispy and it's got a bit of salt on there. Oh, it's delicious. I love chicken. All right, especially when it's been mixed with some mayonnaise. So there we go. All right, so our class, essentially, Lavon was talking about losing weight and losing some bad habits and losing everything. As long as we don't lose our mind, we're good. All right, because then we can still focus, we can still think, and we can still try and do the right thing. And I was speaking with a lady, but earlier today, a friend of theirs has got some health challenges, 65 years old, and, it's not looking too good. But I said, you know what, as long as a person is still sucking air, there's always hope. There's always something we can try. So I don't care if you're 25 or 65 and you want to lose weight or anywhere in between. It's never too late to start. All right. So the question is, do you want to lose weight or do you want to lose body composition? Do you want to fine tune that sexy body of yours, or do you just want to lose pounds on the scale? And there's a big difference. So I think if we just start out by asking a question here. So what is body weight? What's an easy way to define body weight? Well, it's essentially everything about you. It's your muscles, your bones, and the fat and everything on you. And you can determine your body weight just by getting on the scale. Now, I know some of us don't like that monster because it lies to us the whole time. All right. But hey, it's a good indication of where you're at and what you can do about it if you need to do something about it. A number of years ago, I'm going back to December of 2015. I had a hard time breathing while tying my shoelaces. And I figured, okay, something's got to give, got to make a plan. So I started digging deep. And I lost the 40 pounds or 36 pounds and some change in about, it must have been about 6 months or so. And I've managed to keep it off. And it wasn't some crazy diet plan that you follow for 6 weeks, and you lose half your body weight. And then okay, I've lost the weight. Now what do we do? Do we go back to the way we were eating? Well, no. So whatever we're going to do in terms of a weight loss plan, it has to be something that you are prepared to do for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you're not going to stick to it. All right. So body weight, yes, that's a scale measurement. Body composition, now that's something a little bit different. That's the proportion of fat and muscle. So ideally, what you want to do is lose the fat. You don't want to lose the muscle. Because if you lose muscle, you're in bad shape. All right. That's one of the last resorts that your body will go to try and keep you alive, is to start eating your muscles. The other thing that you could be losing is water. Everybody says, yeah, the first 10 pounds you lose is water weight. And it never used to make sense. I mean, goodness, are we storing water in our body? Well, turns out we are, actually. All right. So for every little, and I'm not going to get too technical yet tonight, but I need to explain this just real quick. How do you lose water weight? So when you eat carbohydrates, it becomes glucose. Whatever glucose doesn't get used in the body, it will be converted into glycogen, which is energy stored for later. But on each of those little glycogen molecules, you've got about 3 or 4 water molecules attached to that. So as soon as you change your diet and you cut out some of the carbs and you don't have that excess glucose in your system, and your body starts tapping into your reserves, which is your glycogen, it will use up that glycogen. But as it releases that little glycogen molecule, those 4 water molecules go with it. So that's the water weight we're talking about that you lose. That's why people can lose 10 pounds in a week. But they've lost 10 pounds, but they haven't lost much in terms of fat. They've lost 75% of it, or somewhere around there. 75 to 80% of that weight was just the water that went out initially. Okay. So now that we've got that kind of figured out in terms of body weight versus body composition, we need to know, what are we losing? Are we losing fat? Are we losing muscle? Are we losing water? So you're going to lose the water initially. Now you want to find out, are we losing muscle? Or are we losing fat? Now, who's heard the theory? To lose weight, it's all about calories in, calories out. Anybody ever heard that besides me? Yeah. All right. So to a certain degree, yes, that is true. It's not all about calories, but they do count, obviously, because calories is a unit of energy measurement. So like in the rest of the world, energy is measured in joules. Who remembers that from back in the day when you did science and biology at school? All right. Joules is an energy measurement. Now, if you go read a little nutrition label on the food in South Africa, it doesn't say it's got 400 calories. It tells you there's 400 kilojoules. So nobody is talking in South Africa about calories in, calories out, or put it this way, they're not talking about kilojoules in, kilojoules out. They still say calories in, calories out. So does it count? Yes, it does. But like I tell people all the time, don't just count your calories. Make your calories count. That's the important thing. Where are you getting those calories from? You can get 100 calories from a piece of steak. You can also get 100 calories from a piece of chocolate cake. All right. One of them is going to kill you. The other one won't. And I'll leave that up to you to decide which one. So like I said, calories in, calories out. Yes, it is mostly true, but don't just stick with that theory because things can go wrong. It can be very problematic. And in what way? Well, let's think about this. If you constantly eat fewer calories than what you burn, and you never change anything about your diet, you're going to get to a point where, let's say it's like your vehicle. If you're driving your vehicle and you put in 20 gallons of gas because that's the full tank, and it tells you you can go 400 miles on those 20 gallons. But you are going to try and drive 500 miles without refueling. That's going to be a problem. Okay. The same thing goes with your body. If you aren't putting enough calories into your body, enough energy into your body, and you're burning more than what you're putting in, you are going to lose something. Your body needs to burn, let's say it needs to burn 2,000 calories to keep you alive and just functioning on a normal day. But you're only eating 1,500 calories. That's great while you're losing the weight, because your body's now tapping into all the reserves. But when it's used up the reserves and there's nothing left in storage on your body, and you're still trying to burn 2,000 calories, but you're only eating 1,500, you're going to have a problem. Okay, so we can have what they call a macronutrient deficiency. And macronutrients are proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Everything else is micronutrients, your vitamin A, vitamin B, C, D, E, all of those, magnesiums, your minerals, and all those sort of things. So those are your micronutrients. Now, we do need some of those, so don't discard those. So when we look at proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, and I'm just going to throw this out there, and I should have pulled the study up to show you guys, but there was a study done many years ago to determine the role that carbohydrates play in the body. And the conclusion of that experiment was carbohydrates are non-essential to human life. So if you never ate another carbohydrate again in your life, you would be just fine. Now that goes totally contrary to what we've been told. Carbohydrates are the primary fuel source. You've got to get the carbohydrates for your brain, etc., etc., etc. Again, they're partly right. There's a small part of your brain, the one that's involved with memory, recall, memory, image storage, information storage, the amygdala, I do believe it's called. That part of your brain does need glucose, carbohydrates, yes. But here's the thing, your body will make it when it needs it. So you don't have to go and eat it. The rest of your brain doesn't have to have glucose. So if we now become deficient in one of the macronutrients because we're eating a calorie restricted diet, we're going to have a few challenges. Now, I'm not concerned about cutting out carbohydrate calories at all, because like I just said, carbohydrates are non-essential to human life. You can live very healthily and very well on proteins and fats. Your body is just fine with that. What could happen is you could start losing muscle. If you in a serious calorie deficit, you can start losing muscle. And that's not a good thing. Now, when losing weight, you also have what's called a metabolic rate. In other words, if you just go sit on your rear end there for 24 hours and they measure your metabolic rate, that's what they call a resting metabolic rate. Now, as you lose weight, that metabolic rate slows down. And it's kind of like, how can I put it? You're cutting off your food supply. Let's say you're driving down the road and you still got 50 miles to go and you're running out of gas. And the little light comes on. But says you got 2 gallons left. Now, you're going to use less gas if you drive a little bit slower, not so, than if you're driving. So if you're driving at 40 miles an hour versus 80 miles an hour, you're going to use less gas. So you are now trying to conserve the amount of energy left in the gas tank so that you can make it to the end of the road. And your body does the same. It sees you're putting less food in. So it's going to slow down your metabolic rate to keep you going on less food. All right. Not always ideal. So, talking about calories, let's have a look at this real quick. calories will affect how much weight you lose. Purely calories in, calories out. Okay. And again, where are those calories coming from? But the carbohydrates, the fats, and the proteins will determine where that weight loss comes from. So your macronutrients will determine which part of your body you're actually losing. Are you losing fat or are you losing muscle? So the slowing down of our metabolism can be prevented. We don't necessarily have to slow down the metabolism when we're losing weight. The way to do that is to increase the muscle mass. So you have something else for your body to work with, energy-wise. There were studies that were done, and they found that people with more muscle burn more calories. Now, the reason for that is, why do we need calories? Why do we need glucose? Why does our body need fuel? Well, inside each little cell in your bodies, there's this tiny little thing called the mitochondria, which is the battery pack. That battery pack uses the energy. That's what creates the energy for your body, but it gets it from the fuel that you're putting into your body. Okay. So if you have more muscle mass, it means you have more muscle cells, which means you also have more mitochondria. There's at least one mitochondria per cell in your body. Now, the heart has a few more because that heart muscle should just go and go and go the whole time. So it needs a bit more energy than what your ear muscles need. Okay, so if you want to move your ears, you got a few muscles there. But that heart is just going the whole time. So it needs more mitochondria, it needs bigger batteries, it needs more batteries. So people with an increased muscle mass are going to burn more calories than a person without it. For example, and Dr. Todd Miller gave a very good example the other day on Saturday on his talk, and I like to use that example. If there's a guy in a little motorcycle parked at a red stoplight, and a guy in a truck next to him, a big old 16-wheeler, and they're both just sitting there idling, the motorcycle is going to use less energy. The big old truck needs more energy just to keep it at a resting state. So the big muscle built guy needs more energy just for a resting state. So muscle is important. And how do we get more muscles onto our body? Well, weight training and increased protein intake. So those are the two ways to do it. Now, if you combine the two of them, it's going to go so much quicker. Look at the bodybuilders. All right, they hit the gym. Before they go, they eat themselves 6 eggs and have a protein shake. And when they come back, they eat another 6 eggs and chase that down with some more protein. All right. So, and then they have a big old piece of steak for dinner. These guys just live on protein. So the reason they do that is because their muscles are being torn down from the workout, and the body has to go and fix it. So it makes new muscle tissue. And the more muscle tissue you put on those little biceps, the bigger the biceps get. And again, you now have a new little muscle cell there with a mitochondria. It needs energy. So your metabolic rate is going to stay increased versus the guy that has zero muscle on him. Okay. Now, the current recommendations, if you go look up the recommended daily allowance for protein, it's a paltry 0.8 grams up to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. So there's 2.2 pounds in a kilogram. So we're talking 0.8 to 1.2 grams, and a gram is 1/30th of an ounce. How's that? Some rough math calculations there. So you need 1/30th of an ounce of protein per 2.2 pounds of ideal body weight. Now, what they have found is that 0.8 grams doesn't go very far. Even for people that aren't athletic, they aren't running around, they're not in the gym, just the average person out there just going to work and back, doing a bit of yard work on weekends, that kind of stuff. 0.8 grams of protein per day not enough. Absolutely. So what has been suggested over the last number of months and maybe a year or so is to up that level from 0.8 to 1.2, move that up to 1.6 to 2.4 grams, essentially doubling what the USDA is recommending. Now, it sounds like a lot. And quite frankly, it is a lot, which is good, because if you like meats, you're going to enjoy eating more protein. So we've got to get that into us. If I give you an example, and I'm going to use the same one that Todd used because the numbers work out pretty nice. So for a person that wants to weigh 150 pounds, if we take the current recommended protein intake of 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, then that person needs to eat 55 grams of protein, which is almost 2 ounces. In fact, it's just a smidge over 2 ounces. 1 ounce is like 28.4 grams or something like that. So for a person to weigh 150 pounds, they got to get 55 grams of protein. So what does that look like in terms of food? Well, 1 egg has 6 grams of protein. So you can eat 9 eggs for the day, and that'll be your protein for the day. So that's not too bad. Anybody can have a challenge eating 9 eggs? Anybody? See no takers? Okay. So 9 eggs for the day, 3 for breakfast, 3 for lunch, 3 for dinner. That'll give you your protein intake. So if you don't like eggs and you want to switch to other forms of protein like beef, chicken, or fish, or something like that, then the formula changes just a little bit. If you take, let's take beef. For every portion size of beef, let's say this is your portion size. That's the piece of meat lying on your plate. Only a quarter of that is considered protein. So 25% of that chunk of meat on your plate is protein. The rest is everything else, connective tissues and some fat and that sort of thing. All right. Now the numbers vary a little bit between ground beef and ribeye and prime rib and that sort of thing. But if you average it out, a quarter of your chunk of meat is protein. So let's go back to this person that needs to weigh 150 pounds and eating the recommended 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Gives you 55 grams of protein. Now, if that person wants to get it, let's say just from beef, these are all just examples. If you want to get that just from beef, you need to multiply that 55 by 4. That'll give you the size of the piece of meat that you need to eat. So that's 220 grams of a piece of meat. 220 grams is a half a pound. So if you want to get the 0.8 grams of protein, you need to eat a half a pound of beef for the day. That will give you what's currently recommended. Okay, now what does a half a pound of beef look like? Anybody ever been to a McDonald's drive-thru and bought a quarter pounder? Well, that hamburger patty is a quarter pound. So it's 2 of those. They're saying 2 McDonald's quarter pound hamburger patties is your protein requirement for the day. No, yes, Diane, I agree. Shake your head. It's not enough. I mean, anybody in their logical mind can see just 2 hamburger patties, that's it, and I'm done with my protein for the day. Sorry, doesn't work like that. All right, so what should it look like? Let's up the numbers to the current recommended rates of 1.6 grams up to 2.4 grams. Okay, stay with me on this. So essentially, we're going to be doubling what I just told you, because the previous example was 0.8 grams, and now we're going up to a minimum of 1.6. So if you want to get it just from eggs, that'll be 18 eggs for the day. Okay, I see a few smiles and concerns, but 18 eggs for the day. My son does 12 just by himself. So, and then Yvette and I will do the balance. We'll also do about 4 or 5 each per day. So 18 eggs per day should get you to where you need to be, which is right around 110 grams of protein. So on the new scale, 110 grams of protein is what this person needs to eat for a 150-pound body weight. So if you're eating that amount of protein per day and you're trying to lose weight, you should be able to keep your metabolic rate stable. It shouldn't slow down, because the last thing you want to do when losing weight is to have your metabolism slow down, because then you're not going to lose the weight. Your body's holding on to that food. It's not burning through it real quick because this person is not feeding me. All right. So the body will take over and say, all right, we're in charge. Slow things down here. So you're not going to lose the weight like you want to. So to weigh 150 pounds, at the minimum, you need 18 eggs. Or if we're going to go just to beef again, and I'll give you some numbers here in a little bit in terms of protein in beef and chicken and fish, that sort of thing. But for now, I'm talking beef. So for a 150-pound person, to get their 1.6 grams of protein for the day per kilogram, that would equal 1 pound of beef. So a pound of beef will give you your minimum of 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So now we're talking a fair chunk of meat. All right. Now we're talking 4 quarter pounders from McDonald's. Besides the fact that it's McDonald's, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of the size of the portion. Okay. Yeah. McDonald's is not my favorite. If I have to do drive-through, I will go to In-N-Out Burger. You guys don't have In-N-Out there on the East Coast. But you can literally go to an In-N-Out Burger here and order 4 patty meats, mustard fried. And they come out with a little packet, and there's 4 little hamburger patties in there. That's it, nothing else. And it's just beef, it's just ground up beef, not the best quality because it's not farm raised, it's feedlot raised, but you're still better off eating that than eating all the other junk that's for sale. Okay, so keep that in mind. So now, if the person is fairly active, if they're working out, they go to the gym, if they're a swimmer, if they're a cyclist, if you like jogging, for whatever reason, if you like jogging, you need to have your head red. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? Bicycle, anything, horse riding, you name it. If you're physically active, then that protein portion for the day goes all the way up to 2.4 grams per kilogram per day. So that essentially then is 3 times more than what that person was eating on the suggested program of 0.8 grams. So for a person that weighs 150 pounds and is working out, getting some sort of exercise, they will need to eat the equivalent of 27 eggs. So now we're talking big bucks. I went and bought eggs last night. The price of eggs is just stupid. I paid $7 for a dozen eggs. That is stupid. $7. And just the other day, it was like $1.99 for a dozen. Anyways, so yeah, 27 eggs is going to be a challenge. All right. So what we can do is, let's break it down quickly into beef. Again, for a person to weigh 150 pounds, to get the recommended, where was it? I wrote it down here. To get the recommended amount of protein, they would need to eat 660 grams of beef, which is 1.5 pounds. So 1.5 pounds of beef will get you your recommended protein for a physically active person. So obviously now we're going 1.6 up to 2.4. So you're going to figure out where in that range you are. Are you a couch potato or you're a gym rat? Or where are you in between? Okay. If you're the average person, I would probably say just hit it straight in the middle. right? Two grams of protein per kilogram of ideal body weight per day. So it works out to roughly a pound, 1 gram per pound, more or less, give or take. 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So 150 pounds equals 150 grams. So gives you an idea, more or less. All right. So I know there were some calculations in there, but it's important to understand the importance of protein, because if we don't get enough protein, protein isn't just about losing weight. Everything about you is made from amino acids. It's all these little amino acids put together to make skin, to make bones. How do you make bones? Well, bones is a combination of amino acids, vitamin C, and some zinc and a few minerals. Because the vitamin C and the amino acids that come from your protein, they make this collagen framework, and then all the minerals get deposited in there, and then you've got bones, big, strong, healthy bones. So the protein is important, and we cannot skip out on that. And I sincerely believe that 99% of the population is not getting enough protein in their diet. That's just the way I see it. If I look around at the way people eat, then nobody's getting enough. So now, here's something to think about. So I spoke about how big must that piece of meat be on your plate. And you think, okay, how am I going to manage all this? Remember, it's not just in one sitting. That's your protein for the day. So if you're eating 3 times a day, split it up. All right, third of a pound, third of a pound, third of a pound, that kind of thing. If you're eating twice a day, half pound, whatever the case may be. If you're eating once a day, you have to get the whole 1 pound piece of steak in at one sitting. And then people can say, but how am I going to get all my vegetables in? Well, here's something to keep in mind. Your protein intake is way more important than your vegetable intake. All right, we've just described basically what a person needs to eat in terms of protein, how much protein to eat in a day. So I would suggest always eat your protein portion first before you tuck into all the other vegetables and goodies. Otherwise, you're not going to get your protein portion in for the day. All right, and then that can lead to problems. So I've seen a lot of people on a lot of different weight loss programs. I take my beautiful bride, Yvette, many years ago. She was on, what's that program? Weight Watchers. So she did everything by the book, literally by the book. If the book said eat 1/3 of an apple, she ate 1/3 of an apple. And she weighed her food. Every single thing that she ate, she weighed, she made a note of it in her little book. And then once a week, they would go check in. And she got to the point she was not losing weight. She still had some weight to lose, but she just was not losing any weight. And she got on the scale at I'll never forget it, one Tuesday evening. Got on the scale, and the thing didn't budge. It was exactly where it was the week before. And she gave her book to the group leader there and said, what am I doing wrong? This is exactly what I've eaten, and nothing has happened. And this lady looked at the book. She took the book and she looked in there and she said, oh, well, she says, you know what? I don't know how to help you. She says, I'll give your money back because I don't know what to do anymore. Right? And I remember the food that Yvette ate, the protein was not a lot on there. There was a bunch of filler junk, salad until it was coming out of your ears, portions of fruit like she's never eaten before. There was protein in there, but it's like this lean chicken and this pale looking fish that had no value to it. And it wasn't a pretty sight. That's for sure. That plate looked sad. to say the least. But anyways, the important thing here is to understand, go do your own calculations. If you aren't sure how to work them out, send Levon a text, send me a text. We can help you figure out how much protein you need to eat. And then make sure to eat your protein for the day before you fill up on anything else. All right. And there's various sources of protein. I've only spoken about beef. Let me give you an idea here. And there's different cuts of beef have different calorie values. Remember we spoke about calories, because if we're trying to do a calorie restricted diet and still trying to get our protein up, sometimes that can be a challenge. So let's take beef, because that's the first on the list here. Let me give you an example. Who's heard of Levon? Who's heard of chuck eye steak?
Woo-hoo! Yeah.
All right. I introduced my dear friend Levon to chuck eye steak at, what's the name of that place?
Seed to table.
Seed to table. All right. It's a delicious cut. It's right next to the ribeye, but it's half the price. So it's also known as the poor man's ribeye. How's that? So if we look at a piece of chuck eye steak, a 10-ounce piece of chuck eye steak, that's got 852 calories. Now, if we go from there to a piece of brisket, a 3-ounce piece, so let's multiply that by 3. That'll give us 3 and some change. That'll give us 400 calories for the same size. So you got the same size piece of meat, but the one's double the calories. And that's because the ribeye has a whole lot more fat built into it than what the brisket does. Now, I know when you go buy a brisket, you buy this slab of meat, and there's a layer of fat, but that fat is predominantly just on the top of that brisket. So if you eat just the meat of the brisket, there's not a lot of fat in the actual meat part. And that's why the calorie value is so much less, because there's less fat in there. Okay. So is it possible to increase your protein intake without exceeding your calorie limits for the day? Very much so. Yes, it is. If we look at, let me see here, chicken breast, a 3-ounce piece of chicken breast has got 165 calories. And it's mostly protein. There's not a lot of fat. There's only like 11% fat in a chicken breast. And that's why the bodybuilders like to eat the chicken breast, because the fat is going to fill them up before they can get their protein allotment in. They're going to be full, but they've still got some more food they got to eat to get their protein. So they try to go for the lean meats. They'll do, like when it comes to ground beef, they'll do the 93-7, for example. 93% lean, only 7% fat, because they can eat more of it versus doing the 80-20 one or the 70-30. Okay. Me, I don't care. As long as I get meat and fat in me, I'm fine. All right. I'm not trying to build muscle. I'm not trying to eat the 2.4 grams of protein per day, because I'm not pumping iron like my son is every day. I'm the middle of the road when it comes to those numbers. I'm not quite a couch potato, but I'm not a gym rat either. So I'm right in the middle.
Yeah, rat.
If I compare you real quick, just listen to this. 3 ounces of chicken breast at 165 calories. And then you also do 3 ounces of brisket. That's at 132 calories. So there's more calories in the chicken than there is in the brisket. Here's another tip. There's also more nutrients in the brisket compared to the chicken. So if you're looking for more nutrients in terms of omega-3s, B12s, vitamin A, that kind of stuff, then beef is better than chicken. But if you want purely protein, chicken breast is better than beef. So it becomes a bit of a, what am I looking for here? Okay. But I just want to give you an idea of what's going on. Now, do you folks down in the East Coast, do you have a Popeye's chicken out that way? All right. I've never been to one, so I had to go look up what this item was. Popeye's bona fide chicken. So I had to go look that up. What the heck is Popeye's bona fide chicken? Well, it's a chicken breast. So listen to this real quick. If you take a piece of chicken breast, not from Popeye's, but just the one from the store or from your favorite farmer, you're getting 165 calories out of that chicken breast. But if you get the Popeye's bona fide chicken breast, you're getting 460 calories. That's 3 times as much. But it's because of all the other junk that's on there. They've got 20 grams of fat on that Popeye's bona fide chicken. And it's probably all the fat that it's cooked in, the greasy canola oil, soybean oil, that sort of thing. There are 16 grams of carbohydrates in a Popeye's chicken breast. Now, there are no carbohydrates. Yes, Johnny, I see you getting the squint look there. There are no carbohydrates in chicken, except if you buy it from Popeye's, of course. Then it comes with added carbohydrates. So we've got to be careful. So when I say, yeah, eat the chicken, chicken's got good protein, make sure it's not from Popeye's or from any of these other places. All right. Chick-fil-A. I don't know if you guys have got Chick-fil-A out that way. You can buy just plain old grilled chicken bits from them. I haven't done a study on what their values are, but it's just a grilled piece of chicken breast.
On cardboard. Nagar says it tastes like cardboard and
smells like one too.
smells like cardboard and do not get the fried because it's fried with MSG.
Yeah, and you know what? We don't eat out for that reason, because I don't know what's on the stuff, what's in the stuff, where it came from. Plus, it just costs way more, than eating at home. So for New Year's Eve, and I'm not bragging about this, I'm actually complaining. For New Year's Eve, we went with some friends of ours. You know how they say you got to surround yourself with people that are way better than you so you can learn and kind of fit into those circles? Well, Yvette and I kind of bring the average of our circle down, okay? We went with some friends for New Year's. We went to dinner and we went to the theater and then back to their house. But dinner was at this restaurant, Flint Restaurant. Flint Restaurant is a very pricey restaurant. They have a ribeye steak that you can share. You can share to cut the cost. It's $95 for a ribeye steak. And it's one steak to share between 2 people. Yvette and I each need a steak for dinner, not a shared one. But there was no way on God's green earth I was going to pay $190 for 2 steaks. I can buy a quarter of a cow back here in Phoenix for that amount of money. It's ridiculous. So we don't eat out that much. All right. That's crazy. All right. Let's look at, for those that don't like beef or chicken, there's always fish. Calories in fish. A 3-ounce piece of salmon has 177 calories. So that's doable. All right. It's not a very big piece of fish. So I don't know what's a fair size piece of fish to eat. You guys need to help me here in terms of weights. 4 ounces, 5 ounces, 6 ounces maybe. All right. How much is enough to fill you? That's what you got to ask yourself. How much salmon do I need to eat to fill me up without me having to eat a bunch of vegetables to get full? Because you've got to get your protein amount in. And salmon is an oily fish, so it's going to be a little bit higher than any other plain old white fish. Okay. Eggs, you spoke about eggs. They got 6 grams of protein, but one large egg has 78 calories. So if you were to eat 6 eggs, what is our first number? I wrote it down here. 9 eggs. If you eat 9 eggs just to get what the old program was in terms of protein, yeah, you're going to have a few calories there. So 9 times 70 is what? It's 9 times 630, somewhere around there, calories, which is not bad if you think about the value you're getting out of the egg. Eggs are very, very healthy for you. Loaded with cholesterol. Make sure you eat the yolk of the egg, not just the white protein part. Okay, the protein is the white part. So yes, make sure to eat that, but you have to get the yolk part as well. All right, that's where all your goodness is. Let's look at bacon real quick. One piece of bacon, we've got 43 calories. Now, is there anybody that eats only one piece of bacon? Anybody? Anybody? Didn't think so. What? Who's that? Do I know you?
Yes. No, he doesn't.
Well, if you're only eating one piece of bacon, I might have to disown you. So we need to upgrade your bacon eating skills there, young lady. Anyway, so I was just looking at something real quick. I did a few calculations here. If you do a breakfast, I took 4 eggs and I took 4 pieces of bacon and I added up their calorie value and I came to 484 calories. That's not bad. If you're trying to eat 1,200 to 1,600 calories a day to lose weight, more or less, then a third of your calories you got from 4 eggs and 4 pieces of bacon, let's say at breakfast time. Now I can almost guarantee you those 4 eggs and those 4 pieces of bacon will comfortably get you through to lunchtime without you having to snack in between. And that's what's killing us, is the snacking in between real meals. So do not be snacking, because most of the time when we snack, it's a carbohydrate type food. It's a cracker with cheese on it. It's a cracker with cream cheese. It's something along those lines. It's a little, 48 cents protein energy bar from the gas station. It's a bag of chips, whatever the case may be. So if you eat enough at your mealtime, you shouldn't need to snack in between your meals. So that's very important. It's the snacking part that's really killing us. All right. And for people that go to work, they don't get a lunch break, they can't go get lunch. If you want to just take something to work for lunch, boil up 24 eggs and pack yourself 4 boiled eggs for lunch. Take some mayonnaise with you, dip the egg in the mayonnaise, go to town, have 4 eggs, make your own jerky. It's real easy to make jerky. Okay, it just takes about 4 or 5 days. You guys in Florida might have a hard time because of humidity. So you might have to build yourself a little box. Me, I just hang it up here. It's as dry as a bone out here in the desert. So nothing's going to go moldy out here. I put it in a Home Depot. I bought it one of these cardboard Home Depot moving boxes. Put some big old dowels across the top. And I just hang my meat in the box, put it in the dining room on the table, and 4 days later, I've got jerky. So it's a great way to carry some snacks with you, but snacks that are healthy. All right. So you need to do some prep work. You need to do a bit of planning when it comes to, I'm going to be at work. I've got a half an hour lunch break. There's no ways I can go to town, get something to eat. So just do some prepping. Very good example. We had a chuck roast that we bought, this big old chuck roast. So last night we cut this thing up, we cubed it, diced it, maybe about 1-inch square size little blocks. Put that in the little crock pot overnight on low, and just let that thing cook. Come down this morning and voila, you've got cooked tender chuck roast stew, if you will. And then you can add whatever you want to add to that. We made a nice curry sauce a while back, so we're going to have curried chuck for dinner tonight. Delicious. But there's a whole roast in there. So there's a few meals there. So, if you're going to spend time cooking, cook 2 or 3 different things all at the same time. So you have choices to take with you when you go out somewhere. But the very, very important thing is to not neglect your protein. Now, I know we breezed through this, kind of quick, because I know people always have a question or two, and I want to leave a few minutes for that. But the bottom line, protein, super important for weight loss, because you don't want to lose any of your macronutrients when you're doing a calorie restricted diet. So you're eating less than what your body needs, because we all have a bit of extra storage around our middle, around the hips, under the arms. That's stored energy. All right. So when people say you're fat, say, no, I'm just storing a bunch of energy for later. All right. Don't let them give you lip about that. All right. Or you could just say, I'm not fat. I'm just too short for my weight. Okay. So, yes, protein, super important, because you don't want to lose muscle mass when doing a weight loss program. Absolutely not. You need to keep your muscle mass high, because your metabolism stays running at full speed. You're going to burn more calories because those cells need more energy. You've got more cells that need energy, so you're going to be burning through that. And you're not going to lose muscle mass, you're going to lose fat mass, which is what you want. Again, it comes back to body shape, not just body weight. I know when Yvette started something about 6 months ago, got onto a new plan, and she was getting frustrated. She'd get on a scale every other day, and her weight was more or less the same, maybe a pound down, and then a quarter pound up, and then 1 pound down, and a half a pound up. She was going nowhere. She says, but here's the funny thing. The scale's not changing, but my clothes are fitting looser. She's had to adjust her belt a notch or two. Yvette threw out bags full of clothing just about a month ago, down to Goodwill. All right. But the scale didn't change a lot. But her shape has changed a lot. She's looking good, even though the scale is lying to her. And it's because she's losing fat, but not muscle. And if you're eating more protein, she's keeping that muscle mass there and increasing a little bit. All right. So the fat goes down and the muscle comes up. And that's why you're not going to see a big difference on the scale until you found that balance and you got enough protein. And now you start doing this thing right, and the fat's just going to keep going. And that's when the scale is just going to rev all the way into the red. All right. So I hope it made sense. I know there were some calculations in there, but again, like I said, reach out to me or Levon. Either one of us can help with that in terms of calculating how much do you need for protein, because we don't want to get skinny. We want to get slim. All right. Skinny is never good. Yeah. You look like a bag of bones, some people, and it's not healthy. It really isn't. You got no strength. And you need that strength. When we get older, we need that strength to stay upright, to get out of that chair, to go to the fridge, to get that piece of steak. So you need the muscles to keep you moving and to keep you strong and healthy. All right. I hope that helped. And I see Miss Linda Croy has got a hand up there for some reason. Did you have a question there, Miss Linda, even though you've disappeared off the screen? If not, Levon, is anybody in the room there that's got a question?
I have a couple of questions. What about the question of that meat constipates me? What do you do with that question?
I'll get back to that one. I forgot to mention the Neolife protein, 18 grams of protein in a serving. So that's how you're going to get your protein intake up without having your calories going too high. There's 140 calories in a protein shake, in the Neolife shake. So if you need to eat whatever it was, 100 grams of protein, and you take a protein shake, you can deduct that 18 off there, and you're left with 82 grams of protein. So now suddenly that brings your size of your meat a little bit smaller for the day, 1 or 2 fewer eggs that you need to eat, that kind of stuff. So don't forget your protein. And I would suggest, if you want to do a weight loss program, this is not the Neolife weight loss program. This is Tony Robertson's idea of a weight loss program. Okay. I wouldn't replace a meal with a protein shake. I would have the protein shake with a meal, because you need to get your protein in. All right. So if you're going to have some bacon and eggs for breakfast, if you can't eat 4 eggs for breakfast, fine. Have 2 with 2 pieces of bacon and a nice chocolate shake. And if you want to have something to eat for lunch, have another chocolate shake. There's 18 grams right there. That's a very easy way to get 18 grams. You've got a choice. You can either have a serving of chocolate shake or you can eat 3 eggs. Okay, think of it like that. That's the same amount of protein in either one of those. Now, eating eggs does not create PV. So have a shake.
Or all 22 amino acids,
Yeah. So,
or 5
okay.
grams of fiber,
Yeah.
or 5 essential vitamins and minerals.
Exactly. Well, you're getting a bunch in the eggs, but not everything. You're correct. Yeah. So, protein constipates me. No, it doesn't. It's everything else you're eating with it. And I challenge you, if somebody has that challenge, I'm going to suggest this. Eat nothing but red meat for a few days, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. All right. Let your body get used to that. Let it change. And you're going to see you're not going to have this constipated, bloated feeling. I can guarantee you that. I don't know if anybody knows Joe Rogan. I listened to Joe Rogan podcast one day, and he had spoken to a doctor in a previous podcast about, and this doctor is doing a carnivore diet, just meat. All right. He says he doesn't do intermediate fasting. He does intermediate feasting. He went, and this guy's a large lad. He's like 6'5", 240 pounds of muscle. And he said he went out for dinner one night. He ate 6 pounds of steak. 6 pounds of steak, but he didn't eat again for 36 hours after that. All right. My point is this. So Joe Rogan got chatting with him, and a while later he thought he's going to try this carnivore thing. And he was talking to a guy in one of his podcasts again. He said, "Man, I tried that." He says, "For 4 or 5 days, I felt constipated. I had no bowel movement. I felt like death warmed up." He says, "But on day 6, all hell broke loose." All right. He says it was a mess. So if red meat is causing you to be constipated, I challenge you to try and do that. Not eat anything else but the red meat, and see after 4, 5, 6 days how you're feeling. You will have a bowel movement. And here's the thing, the more protein you eat and the less other foods you eat, the less of a bowel movement you're going to have. Because I take guys that do, for example, a carnivore diet. If all you're eating is meat, it's just amino acids. There's nothing else. And some fats. So the fat for fuel and the amino acids all get used up to build you, to fix you, to repair the damage. So there's not much left over in your gut because it's all been used. So you might not have a bowel movement for a day or 2, or you might have one every day, but it's going to be a small one because everything's being used. All right. But some people, like Joe Rogan was saying, takes a while for the body to make that switch, and then to just run smoothly. But no, there's no reason, none whatsoever, why red meat should constipate a person. None whatsoever.
Then what about someone that says that their digestion gets very upset if that they can't digest red meat. What do you say to somebody that says they can't digest red meat?
Then you give them digestive enzymes and digest.
5 points for Tony.
And the reason I say that, I watched a video of a doctor explaining who's heard this thing of red meat it's hard to digest and it ferments in your gut. Okay. So this guy was trying to explain this, and I'm not going to give you the details of it because purely for a time thing. But he says he spoke to a friend of his that's a nurse. She's a colostomy nurse. So all she does all day long for 15 or 20 years now is work on people's colostomy bags, empties them out, gives them a new one, does the treatment, all that kind of stuff. He said, how many of those in your 15 years of experience, how many times have you come across a chunk of steak in a colostomy bag? And she thought about it. Now, for those who don't know what a colostomy bag is, it's just a bag. They cut a hole in your digestive tract and they put a tube in there because your regular outlet isn't working. So now you got to go through the plastic bag into the plastic bag that you carry on your side. And he asked her, how many times have you come across a piece of steak in a colostomy bag? And she says in 20 years, she's never seen a piece of undigested meat in a colostomy bag. Never.
But I bet
she says,
come across bushels of corn.
She says what she has found is corn, peanuts, broccoli, nuts, just in general. She says, you can't believe, she says, what pieces of carrot.
Oh my God.
All right. But she's never found a piece of meat in a colostomy bag.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. All right. Johnny, you have a question? Unmute.
Okay, here I am. Hello. Yes, I was just wondering because I'm in a weird situation. I'm going the other way. I'm trying to arm up to by 10 or 15 pounds because I'm underweight. I'm undernourished. I was a bit concerned about like how much is overdoing the protein to the point that it might wreck the kidney or the renals. Or is that a myth?
Yeah, it's a myth. It's a myth. Okay. Right. But yeah, here's a challenge for you. Okay, so you want to put on weight. You're working out in the gym. You want to put on some muscle.
Yeah.
Then do your calculations for your protein at the 2.4 grams per kilogram per day.
2.4.
So whatever your goal weight is, all right.
150. You just said it. You had been saying it earlier, and I was like, "Wow, this guy is speaking to me already." So,
okay. So if your goal is that now with muscle, you want to weigh 150.
I want to properly with muscle. Right now, I'm hovering around something stupid like 138. And I'm only 5'5", just so you know. So it,
Okay. So then those calculations I gave you there, 150 pound is your ideal weight. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's going to be 2.4 grams per kilogram of body weight. So just do the conversion there. There's 2.2 pounds in a kilogram, so you can do the calculation. But you sound like you would understand kilograms.
Well, the UK has done a good job of resisting the metric system.
Oh, they got stone, don't they?
I'm very proud of it. So,
oh, they work in stone or something, don't they?
Stone, yeah, 14 pounds. We British scales still have ST for stone. Yeah.
Okay, but if Google can help you out with the conversions.
Right.
So, but yeah. So okay. So then go with a 2.4.
2.4.
And you'll be surprised. I'm going to challenge you to try and overeat on protein at 2.4 grams per kilogram.
Oh man, I'm in heaven. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much.
That's all you're going to be eating is just the meat. There's going to be there'll be no place left in you to put any vegetables in. So. All right. So, but yeah, see if you can do that. My son he's working on a 2.4. He's 6'4". He works out in the gym. I think he weighs like 210 pounds at the moment. So that's just like 100 kilos. And that's his goal. He eats about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of beef per day plus 12 eggs.
Oh my gosh.
That's all he eats is beef and eggs, beef and eggs, beef and eggs, beef and eggs. It's costing me an arm and a leg to be at home.
He's a financial advisor.
Yeah,
And
so Johnny, that's what I would suggest. Go for it. All right. And let me just on a different note, just change it up a bit. Unless you don't care about what you eat day in and day out, change it up. My son couldn't care. He would have ground beef every day, doesn't matter. He couldn't care as long as he's getting his protein in. And I'm the same. I'll eat the same food every single day of my life. Doesn't bother me. My daughters, on the other hand, like they want variety. All right. Well, today we'll have T-bone steak. Tomorrow we'll have ribeye steak. The day after that we'll have ground beef. And then after that we'll throw in some chicken and we'll cycle back again to some spare ribs. And then we'll do, oh, good grief. It's work. It's work.
Brisket.
Brisket, yeah. With
Lamb,
me, it's
don't
like,
forget your lamb.
oh, and if you can get lamb, go for it. Go for it. Yeah, here's a tip, Johnny, real quick. If you eat steaks like T-bones or if you eat ribeye steak, that kind of thing, when you go buy them and you bring them home, take them out of their pack, put them on a wire rack on a tray, salt them heavily on both sides, stick it in the fridge uncovered for about 2 or 3 days. Let them dry age.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And then go just slap it in a hot cast iron pan. 3 minutes in the oven for 2 minutes at 400. Big old blob of butter on top of that. You're gonna enjoy it.
Oh well.
Yeah.
As I said, I think I've gone to heaven without dying. It just keeps getting better. I mean, wonderful. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. You're
And
welcome.
Tony, next question was, do you weigh it raw or cooked?
Typically raw, all foods are weighed in a raw condition. So yeah.
Calculations for what was for raw, right?
So the calculations is for raw.
Yeah. I've actually gone as far as I got real methodical because we needed. My son keeps saying to me, "I'll dish up a piece of meat." He says, "How much does that weigh?" I said, "I don't know, Austin." He says, "You got to weigh it, Dad." I was like, "Oh." So we had about 7 or 8 steaks out on a little rack that I was going to put in the fridge. So I went and got my blue painter's tape and some toothpicks. I made little flags. I weighed each piece of meat and I wrote the weight on the flag and I stuck it in that piece of meat. So when you take your piece of meat out of the fridge, you say, oh, this one weighs 240 grams. Then you know, he knows how much he's got to eat. So he can pick and choose the pieces that's going to add up to what he needs. Yeah. I only did it once because it was hard work to do it. Not hard work, it's just time consuming. But yeah, there is that option. But weigh the meat in the raw condition. And Johnny, you can go look online as well for the different types, the different cuts of beef and what have you, and get their protein content per 100 grams in each of the different cuts. All right, just so it gives you an idea. If you want to be really, really meticulous about it, then yeah, have a look at that. Otherwise, in general, just 25% of this piece of meat is protein. Yeah. All right. Any questions? And you got a question.
I just wanted to make an observation. I went yesterday to Sprouts because I wanted to buy eggs. My best weight loss day was I had a bunch of eggs. I don't remember how many, but quite a few. I think I cooked 5 or 6 of them and had them all. And there wasn't a single egg carton in the store. And I stopped and asked somebody and he says it's because of the bird flu. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Yep.
So,
yep. I saw an article the other day. They literally roasted 5.3 million chickens because of bird flu. They dug a pit, burnt them. Yeah?
I was very disappointed.
5.3 million egg-laying chickens are gone. Yeah. It's crazy. Stupid.
Yeah.
Yes. Question.
People who are concerned about osteoporosis should get more protein.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Because you're going to build up that collagen network, which is protein and vitamin C. That makes that collagen frame. And then all the minerals that you get will go and deposit in that little framework and make a nice, strong, solid bone. Yeah, don't let anybody tell you that eating red meat is going to suck the calcium out of your bones. Right? It's not going to. It's going to build your bones. In fact, eating red meat is beneficial for bones, not detrimental.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's an old lie.
I have a question. I don't have a, I don't have to lose weight. Actually, I'm doing all right. I eat 4 eggs a day and I always have beef, but I'm Hispanic and I like to have, with beef, I like to have rice and beans. Is beans a good source of protein? And if you can, and the second part of the question, what other sources of protein is there besides the meats?
Okay, what was the second part of the question?
What other sources of protein besides meat?
And beans are
Be,
good.
And are beans a good source of protein? And because he's
beans
Hispanic,
are,
likes his
yeah,
beans.
beans are a source of protein. I'm not going to say it's a good source. 54% of every little bean is carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And the rest is fibers and proteins. So yes, it is a source of protein. If you don't have diabetes, if you're not trying to lose weight, if you don't have out of whack cholesterol numbers, fine, beans are going to be okay.
Okay.
All right. But if you try and if you fall into any of those other categories where you need some intervention of some sorts, then no, beans aren't ideal. Besides meat, the only other places for protein is going to be plant-based. But plants are suspect with all the junk they got on them these days.
You are under suspect, spinach.
Yeah. So, but yeah, feel free to eat the beans if it's not going against, if it's not, being a disadvantage to you.
How about nuts? I also like to eat nuts, and again, I don't have a weight problem. I'm pretty much, I'm 5'8" and I'm about 168. And I stay there, so. And I'm pretty active.
Again, they I wouldn't say they're harmless, but it's nothing to freak out about. Okay. As long as it's not peanuts, because peanuts aren't nuts, they're legumes, like the kidney beans and those sort of things.
No, I do
So, but yeah, and you don't want to make a meal out of it. A handful a day should be more than enough in terms of fat content, that sort of stuff, carbohydrate content in the nuts.
Lake,
I just wondered about the protein drinks, like you buy at Sam's or, 30, says 30% protein.
Anything you buy at Sam's or Costco is suspect, unless it's some free range eggs out in the fridge. I wouldn't. You're talking about proteins, is that right?
yes,
Yeah,
protein
yeah.
powders.
Yeah, you're not going to get any better than the Neolife protein shake. That I can tell you, set up. You're not going to get anything better than that. I mean, it's just weird. And part of and this is just the marketing side of things, but Costco sells probably Sam's Club as well. I don't know. Muscle milk. You've all heard of muscle milk protein. But it just tickles me pink, okay? Because the big thing on the bag says muscle milk, and then in small print it says contains no milk. I think, hello, you advertise it muscle milk, but it contains no milk. So it's just marketing to me.
It's not gonna build your muscle.
No. And the thing is, where does the protein come from? Is it, I don't know. There's so many products in the market these days. I don't know how people can. Lavon keeps track of all these things, but that's because she never sleeps. So while the rest of us are sleeping, Lavon is researching. But there's so many different companies on the market these days. I don't have the time or the energy to go study every product, call every company, ask them where they got their raw materials. It's just, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I know what I have with Neolife. My son that's now 6'4", weighs 210 pounds and solid muscle. He got onto the Neolife shake. I think he was about 3 months old. And he's been on the Neolife shake since he was 3 months old. That's the only protein shake he's ever put in his body. All right. And he hasn't started growing boobs and all sorts of stuff because it's made from soy. Don't believe everything you hear out there, okay? Don't believe everything. I like what Ronald Reagan said, trust, but verify. So, all right.
Yes, yes, yes. And then one last question would be question about if somebody's battling cancer, they have been told to don't eat red meat. Can you address that?
Did they say, why not? That's the important thing.
Because there's some kind of protein they say that feeds the cancer. That's what they're saying.
Okay. So, short answer, yes, correct. But it needs some explanation. So, cancer cells have what they call anaerobic activity. In other words, they don't need oxygen. Like you and I, we are aerobic creatures. We need fuel and oxygen combined. Cancer cells are anaerobic. They don't need oxygen to live. They consume about 400 times more glucose than a healthy cell. So they need glucose, which comes from carbohydrates. So that's one fuel source. Another fuel source for cancer cells is glutamine. And glutamine comes out of our food, especially in meat. It's a amino acid in meat. So there is a bit of a dilemma, because now if you don't want to feed them the carbohydrates and you cut out all carbohydrates out of your diet, I'm talking hardcore, cut it out. You go straight carnivore diet, because that's all that's left to eat is just meat. If you cut everything else out, all you got left is meat. So it becomes a challenge, because you got to eat, you got to survive. Can we stop the recording, Levon?
Yes, yes. Hold on. Let me find the button for a stop recording.